I'm going to fly through this presentation relatively fast because I want to get into Meshtastic and I want to get into this RDAP program for you tonight. In the email I sent you about why do you need emergency communications, did any of you guys think about the questions I put on that message I sent out? What is going on? How bad is it? Where is it happening? How long will it last? Is my daughter hurt? How can I get help? If you can't call 911, what's your plan? Okay. Should I go or should I evacuate? Now, some of these questions can be answered in a few different ways. Where to get information? The first one is your AM, FM radios. Second one is, you should, if you haven't already, you should go on to Everbright. Does anybody not know what I'm talking about with Everbright? Everbright is where that they do the shows and stuff, right? Everbridge. So Everbridge is a service that our government pays for. It's a program designed to be able to notify you by text on anything going on within the general area that you live in. That's your first go-to place. Social media is another one. Every city has a Facebook page. If you want to see what's going on in the city and Facebook's working, log on to your city's Facebook page and watch what's going on there. Eventually, sometimes they actually have highway messages that'll update you on what's going on. They'll have, the last thing is you buy a ham radio. We'll talk about ham radios here in a second. Develop an emergency family plan. Every family member needs to know the following: primary emergency contact phone and email address, household members, their phone numbers and email addresses, and out of the area contact information, and various different communication methods. You can use texting, social media postings, and portable radios. We'll talk about those in a few seconds. Meeting locations, immediate neighborhood location, outside the area, and an out-of-town location. And then you can also get a pre-printed communication card, which basically the state of Utah has on their BeReady utah.gov website. They've got templates for that. And then you have to practice your communication plan. So those are the components of a good, well thought out emergency communication plan. There's a term called PACE, primary, alternative, contingent, emergency. The military uses that term. You have to have a multiple series of backup solutions in case option A doesn't work, you gotta switch to option B. If B doesn't work, you go to C. The government has redundancies. Your communication plan needs to have redundancies. The top of the list of communications is cell phones. Everybody knows how to use them. They're a common product, but they are susceptible to what? Problems. If we have a major disaster, anybody had problems reaching each other on a cell phone during a major disaster? Because they can only adopt. So the average cell phone tower only can handle 5% of the population that lives around it. Because that's what they're assuming is going to be making calls at the same time. It's going to be easy for that to double, triple, quadruple during a major disaster, and it'll tax it. Plus, on top of that, 60% of the bandwidth of cell towers will be dedicated to emergency service personnel. You will not be able to, you'll have an even harder time trying to get through on your cell phone. Texting is a better solution. Why? The cell tower actually has a separate radio on it for texting than it does for voice. Texting is a lot faster and easier, so don't forget to use texting as another service. So that's your second tier. So cell phones, texting, and also you should know that 66% of all cell towers nationwide don't even have backup generators. So if you have a power outage, you're probably in trouble. And then even if you did have a generator, if the disaster lasts for more than 24 to 48 hours, the fuel will be run out. Alternative communications. FRS, those are family radio service radios. Those are your walkie-talkies. FRS, walkie-talkies, problem. Tens of thousands of people try to use these radios at the same time, and there's only 22 channels to choose from. And so let's take, for example, the LDS church, just because it's so large in this area. In Utah County, we have 175 stakes in this county, from here to Alpine. 1,500 wards. Each ward has 10 or so district leaders or block captains. So that's 15,000 people, and they're almost all told to use walkie-talkies. 15,000 people trying to use walkie-talkies. That's in addition to anybody else who has those. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. The next problem is that they're only powered with a half a watt of power, which means that they will only go a few miles and then you lose connection. Benefits are they're cheap and no license to require. Mirrors is a better option. Nobody's ever heard of mirrors, right? Anybody heard of mirrors? It's cool. The less people know about it, the more likely it's not going to be used. So it's a good option. MURS stands for multi-use radio service. There's only 5 channels. It requires a specifically programmed radio for it. It has 2 watts of power, so it's 4 times more powerful. There's no repeaters available, so that's kind of a problem with it as well. It does not require a license to use, and not very many people know about it. So MURS is a good option you guys should consider. GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service. This one has a few problems. It still only has 30 channels to choose from. It does require a license, but the license doesn't have a test. It's $35. It covers you for 10 years, and it covers your whole family. But the challenge to get that license by going to the FCC.gov website is like, sticking a fork in your head. Okay, it's nasty. You need a master's degree to figure that one out. Benefits of it is maximum power is 5 watts up to 50 watts. Repeaters are available, and there's one here in Payson. Not a common radio, so it will not be overwhelmed by users. That's a good option.
I don't know what repeaters is.
Thank you. I take it for granted. If I do that again, somebody, kick me. Okay, a repeater is a device that's mounted in a high location that receives the message and then rebroadcasts it out to in another direction. So if we have a mountain here, and you want to reach somebody on the other side of the mountain, you broadcast it, it'll hit here, and then it'll get broadcast to the other side. That's what a repeater does. Thank you for a good question. Next one. Ham radio. Let's talk about ham radios. There's pros and cons for this as well. These require an FCC license, and you have to take a test. All communication is public domain, which means you cannot broadcast anything encrypted. You can't even use code words. Okay? So it has to be easily available and understood by our government overseers. Oops, did I say that out loud? There is an exemption for the FCC license to use it. There's no license required to call for help. So if you're on a sinking ship, SOS, don't worry, broadcast. Is a license required to listen to the radio? There is no license to listen. What did I talk about in the very beginning about knowledge? What can you learn? Well, ham radio operators are very chit-chatty. And they will talk about what's going on that they know about, and they can't encrypt it, they can't hide it from anybody. It's open for anybody who's got a frequency to listen to them. So that's a great tool to have to be able to know what's going on in your community. You'll be able to hear whether or not help is on the way, or if help is not on the way, so you know what kind of decisions to do best for your family. Fair enough? Maximum watt can be from 5 watts to 100 watts, so you can reach further distances. Repeaters, there's lots of repeaters available in Utah. It's not a common radio, so it's usually not going to be overwhelmed. Plus, in the ham radio world, we use something called the net. The net is a controlled environment where there's one person who's the net controller. He's going to control who can talk and who cannot. And so it basically creates order. If they had something like this on the FRS frequencies, that would be amazing, but I doubt it'll ever happen. Ham radio operators practice and practice and practice. Net control every week, every month. Every week here in Woodland Hills, or in our stake, in the next couple of stakes, we actually practice at 8:30 every Sunday night, practicing using our radios. And we practice the protocols to communicate with each other. Okay? Let's talk about these radios can be programmed with FRS, MURS, GMRS frequencies as well. So, this is going to be the challenge for some people, because this radio is bought in China. Boo! It goes, ooh. I didn't hear anybody's boo. That's because you guys all buy Chinese stuff too. But this radio initially came out and it wasn't locked. That means we could broadcast, we could program it for these other frequencies. Then the FCC came down on the manufacturer, said you have to lock it down and only let ham radio channels be programmed on it. I liked it when you could actually program with other frequencies, so I could actually talk and have only just one radio instead of having to have 4 different radios. So this radio I bought directly from the factory, bypassing their normal distributorship, and I can reprogram these with all 4 groups of frequencies. So it has FRS, GMRS, MURS, and regular ham radio channels all programmed onto this radio. It's about 200 channels on this radio. The video I showed you earlier teaches you which group of radio channels you can use without a license and which group you can use that requires a license, but you can listen. Understand? Question?
because you're using a ham radio on those other frequencies, there's no license required. But if you're using it on ham radio frequencies, you've got to have a license.
Just speak on it. Well, I want to tell you what the real total law is. The law is you're not allowed to broadcast on FRS frequencies with anything greater than half a watt of power. So you would be breaking FCC laws if you were broadcasting on this radio using the FRS. MERS, I think it's 2 watts of power. I can't get this to go that low. It starts at 5 watts.
So that's 5.
This is 5. Okay, so that is the only thing that you could go to jail, which I don't know anybody who has gone to jail with this, but just giving you a heads up that it's a tool that we need to consider using as an option to save your life. Rapid radios utilize cell towers. So that's how your message from one state gets routed to the cell tower, sent across country, and drops down to whoever's got the same kind of radio on the other side of the country. That system will not work well when the cell towers go down. In fact, it won't work at all. So if you're looking for a redundant solution, that is not the best solution. Will it work when the internet works? Or cell phone towers work? Yes. It could be a tool in your, or a quiver in your, or an arrow in your quiver. It's one of the many options you can have. But they're not cheap. They're like $150, I think, per radio. So, yes, sir.
Requires an annual fee.
That's true. They require an annual fee, so you're kind of paying it out all the time. These radios, no annual fee. Anybody want to know how much this costs? Nobody cares?
$30.
65 bucks.
Lightning deal for about $15 a piece.
That's true. They sell some of these versions really cheap, okay? And they're different than this one. This one also has the ability, I can plug this one in with a USB-C plug. So I can recharge this with my solar panels on the go. And it's got this one has GPS tracking on it as well, the other ones don't. So I chose one that I thought had enough features on it that I like to have on it. But by all means, go on to Amazon.com and buy it on there. They're probably not going to program it for you. No, I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing that Amazon doesn't program your radio for you. And I'm pretty sure they don't put a training video on how to use it either. So those are some of your considerations. This is the new technology. Who came here to learn about the new technology? It's called Meshtastic. Meshtastic was designed a couple of years back by a group of very smart, I think, ham radio guys. Mostly the guys who play with this are ham radio operators. And they decided to develop this tool. It's an open source solution, so it means nobody's going to sell. It doesn't cost you anything to use the program. It's free. There's no annual cost. All you got to do is get yourself a radio and have the software downloaded onto your phone. So what it does is you Bluetooth connect this antenna to this phone. Once it's Bluetooth connected, you can stick it in your pocket. Because your whole application's on here. That's why I had you download meshtastic.com. That program is going to allow you to send and receive text messages using this radio as your antenna. It's like a miniature cellular tower. It operates on a frequency that does not require a license. It's 915 megahertz. At that frequency, you can send and receive messages all day long. Meshtastic has the technology to bounce messages from radio to radio. So pretend Maria is a mountain.
Sit very still.
And I want to communicate line of sight over there. But my mountain's in my way. I can't do it. But what if, what's your name?
Cameron.
So what if Cameron is over there with one of these mesh radios? And I can see Cameron, so I can communicate with Cameron. Cameron's radio will automatically rebroadcast my message to you. What's your name?
Tom.
To Tom. That's what mesh does. How many times? That's called a hop. How many hops can we do? 7. How long of a hop can we make? Depends upon how long of a line of sight I have with Cameron. Let's pretend Cameron is at, what's that city on the other side of Utah Lake? Eagle Mountain. We'll do Eagle Mountain. Let's pretend that he's in Eagle Mountain. I can actually communicate with him, and then I can bounce it off him up to Layton. The furthest I've talked to using one of these little radios is Layton, which I think is 70 miles. Where's Richfield compared to Layton?
South. Richfield is south.
Tells you I'm from Colorado, right? I'm from Colorado, Parker area. So anyways, the benefit is that it bounces long distances. The record for the longest one hop is like 120 miles, mountaintop to mountaintop. So for a low-powered radio solution, these are a great option. And as I said earlier, all the communications being sent on these radios are all encrypted at AES 256, which is a military-grade encryption level.
Question.
Yes?
So if you're trying to do a family solution, you have 5 different family members, you want 5 of those, and each individual one needs to be to that person's cell phone.
Correct.
So you got to mesh it up. I'm using the word mesh, but link it up to your
Mesh is good.
cell phone,
I like the word mesh.
to each of those separate cell phones.
Yes, you have to connect all the separate phones with their own separate mesh radio.
Okay. So
So-
if I'm trying to solve a problem tonight, I need all 5 of my kids' phones
Yes.
to link them up individually.
Yes.
To each of the mesh.
And then, so you have to get all your kids linked up,
Yep.
and then you have to practice. So here's one of the challenges. So Meshtastic has some challenges. I don't know if I go into them. Oh, I do. Problems. Let's talk about problems. Well, sending text messages is kind of bare minimum. You can't do voice. You got to use the phone. Messages could fail to make it to your intended user due to numerous variables. Let's talk about those numerous variables. So when you get your software and you download it and you install it, and other people within range of your radio log in, they'll show up on your map. Okay, your map will show the distance where they're at and who it is. But if the person turns off his phone or turns off his radio, he still shows up on your map, but he's not actually there. Okay, so that's a bit of a challenge that you can't expect the same kind of performance each and every time. That's one of the challenges I found with Meshtastic is that there's not, so you can set up a Meshtastic radio as a repeater, which would help a lot with this problem, but it's still a work in progress. That's one of the problems. The second problem is if everybody started using it, it can get overcrowded. So for example, every time I send a message to Cameron's going to rebroadcast my message to everybody within his reach. That message floods the airwaves with his message. And then when it gets to everybody else, they're going to rebroadcast it and flood it even more. It's kind of like compounding interest. It's not beneficial. And this compounding interest is pretty good actually for us, but for radios, we don't want compounding interest. So there's a newer technology, which I'm not going to have a presentation on tonight, but you can Google it and do some research yourself. It's called MeshCore. It's coming out of Europe. MeshCore uses the same radios. So if you buy one of these radios, or you can make these radios yourself if you want to, it'll still work on that radio. MeshCore does this. I send a message, so I'm trying to get to Cameron and Tom. Okay, so what Cameron's going to do when if I use MeshCore as the software on my radio, and he's got MeshCore, what that's going to happen is he's going to broadcast it once to his whole area to find out where Tom is. Once he finds Tom, then he's identified the path. And so all future communications are only going to be, it's not going to be the whole community anymore. So it's smarter technology. I like that. It also has better technology for the repeaters as well. Yes?
You spell core.
C-O-R-E. M-E-S-H-C-O-R-E.
Just clarify that the phone usage does not have to be put to cellular.
Oh, yes, your cell phone that you have. So I carry with me a communications bag that's EMP proof. We'll talk about EMPs in a second. But the phone I keep in there is my old iPhone 12, 11, something like that. Anyways, it doesn't have a cell carrier on it anymore. You don't need a cell carrier at all to have these work. Okay, these operate without cell coverage at all. But thanks for the clarification. No FCC license is required to use these. You can organize users into groups. So when you've downloaded the Meshtastic program, you can create separate groups. I think it's up to 8 groups you can create on your phone. So you can have and so you have the ability to set up multiple groups. And what you do is when you set up a group, it creates a privacy code that if you share it with somebody else, then only they can get into your group. But they have to have your code in order to get into it. So it's got some nice features that you can segregate your messaging into groups and create up to 7 to 8 groups, okay? Inexpensive, that's relative, would you guys agree? If you're the state of Utah, you just got done replacing all your employees' radios with a $7,000 radio. These are a lot cheaper than that. So you can make these yourself. Okay, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, because I did it. I've made 300 now so far. I 3D printed these, and then I bought all the components I needed, and then I screwed them all together and welded them together. It wasn't too complex. So all the parts will run you somewhere around $90 to $100 for one this size. This has a 3,000 milliamp battery, and it has the ability to reach farther distances than some of the smaller ones. I have another radio that we're coming out with that's smaller than this, and it's like the size of a credit card, and it'll be probably half the price of this. So this is $125 for this radio. And then the next one's going to be about $65, and it's smaller, but it doesn't have the same size of antenna. You can also replace this antenna and get a stronger or longer antenna if you want to, so you can reach even further distances, but this is an option that you can play with. Anybody a question on the Meshtastic radio? Yes, sir.
Well, what's the core? Is it a Raspberry Pi and M232?
No, so the Mesh Core is a software program.
But you've got to have a microcontroller in there running the same.
Right, the microcontroller in this unit works with Mesh Core. Same radio.
Okay, so it's a very specific.
So there's firmware that's loaded on here first. You load the firmware of Mesh Core on here and it replaces Meshtastic. Now you have a Mesh Core radio. It's pretty easy to bounce it between the two.
Okay, but it's not a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino or an SP32, nothing like that?
Nope. Nope. Oh, this battery here that I put in here would last about 2 weeks, being on completely for 2 weeks. So it's got a 3,000 milliamp battery. It's using about half a watt of power. This radio, this cell phone has a 1,000 milliamp battery in it, and this lasts for about a day. It uses a lot of power. So this gets you a lot of strength as far as power goes.
How much do those cost if you want to just buy them off the shelf somewhere else?
$125. Yeah, so you can Google them. When I first started doing this a couple of years ago, there was nobody that was selling them. You literally had to build it yourself. Today, there's a few more companies that jumped into it, but they're all selling them for like $125 to $150. Some of the smaller radios, they're selling for less, like the $65 one I'm working on now. So I think around $60, $65 is where you'll probably find the sweet spot for a inexpensive radio solution.
Theirs not come programmed, right? Yours do. These not. Oh,
So,
sorry. Yeah.
so when you get these mesh radios, they will have a basic firmware installed on them, but you're going to have to learn how to update the firmware, because as an open source application, it's constantly getting updated. So this radio does require a little bit more technical knowledge to use. Okay, and it's got a lot of options, settings on it that can make it more difficult for you to figure out as well.
Does it have a USB-C?
It does have a USB-C, yes. Any other questions?
And it seems like it would be rare for most people to know about this thing. Like, it seems like the adoption would be pretty small. Is that right?
Right now it's being adopted primarily by ham radio nerds. But it's growing beyond that too. The problem I was worried about is in Utah County, there's a lot of nerds. Okay, and we're going to start building the amount of traffic that Meshtastic would create. That's why I'm moving everything I'm doing towards Mesh Core. So it has more intelligent routing of messages. Okay? Go ahead, next page.
Is there any network effect? Like, do we want more people to use it so we can have more repeaters?
Good question. The question was, wouldn't you want more people to be part of the network so that you had more chance of getting to your end destination? There's a fine line that says, at what point is too many people? Because all of a sudden you're creating more traffic at that time, and it's creating crashes of colliding data going back and forth because the radio is busy sending out its last message, and it's too busy to receive another message, which is the important one that you wanted it to receive. So that creates challenges when we get too much traffic. Yeah.
Trying to correlate two possible scenarios where you said on the mesh cascade, if somebody turns their phone off, it's no longer able to transmit what you just sent.
Good point.
But on the mesh core, you said once it develops a route, it sticks with that route. So if this guy here turns his phone off, does that make it so you won't try it?
So the answer to that question is, if Cameron turns his phone off, and so I can no longer bounce on that same path, then I will be sending out another wide bandwidth message till I find the next person who can reach him. It does it automatically. It does it automatically. Like I said, it's got better intelligence than just broadcasting everything across the spectrum. There is another option that's called Beartooth. And Beartooth runs about $1,250 a radio. But what's nice about Beartooth is that I can send more data. I can use a mapping program, and this is what the military uses to coordinate its forces around the country, around the countryside in a war zone. And they came up with a civilian version. Firefighters use this a lot as well, where they basically go out into the wilderness and they have to create their own network, and they want to know where's all my firefighters at. This program would show you where they're at. But you have a $1,250 radio you got to buy. That's the only problem. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about cell phones and then texting.
Yeah.
Is there a way of doing this where if it is an emergency, you can text and a lot less, information being, out there. If everybody and their dog was texting, they could get a lot more text through than voice messages, right?
So you're talking about texting on a cell phone, on the cell towers, or on the mesh?
Are that capable with this or no?
So your phone's going to has two ways of sending a text. Actually, it's got three ways. One way is through the cell tower company's cell radio antenna. The second way is through the internet, which is a data antenna on that same tower. And the third is on a mesh radio. The mesh radio can send text.
You can't send text.
That's what this is doing. The blue radio, that's what that's doing.
Okay.
Sending it via.
So it's not voice.
No, it's not voice. Okay. Next question. Any questions on Beartooth? Want to spend $1,250? If you want to do that, let me know. I'll give you more information. It's usually for businesses.
So the little blue one is mostly just meant as a way to go from your phone to Bluetooth, from Bluetooth to, you kind of wear it on your person.
Yeah.
And so it's just basically translating your phone.
The text messages you type in here, and retransmitting
to Bluetooth, and then from there, how does it get sent? Is it over the?
There's a radio inside the blue radio that transmits it over the antenna at 0.5 watt of power. Right now, I am working on setting up a Utah County mesh network. What that means is I've been talking to the county. The county currently has 12 cell tower sites around the valley where they put their antennas for their emergency personnel communications. I'm talking about getting permission from them to put one of my mesh radio repeaters on each one of those towers to help provide a more robust solution, because those don't turn off. They're on 24/7. So it's a much better solution when you have somebody that doesn't turn off their system. Okay, so until that happens, I'm holding back on pushing more mesh radios in lieu of a couple other options I'll talk about here in a second. Satellite phones is another option. Those are also pretty expensive and have regular monthly fees. We're not going to talk about that much. This is an interesting thing I'm keeping track of. If you have an iPhone using T-Mobile, they're doing right now you can send text messages on your cell phone through a T-Mobile satellite network. I haven't tested it, but I have talked to plenty of people who've done it successfully themselves.
Is it 14 and above?
Yes, iPhone 14.
Or more?
Yes, 14 plus. You need an unobstructed view to the southern sky. Mountain valleys could be a problem. New technology still being beta tested. They're hoping to come out with a voice version of it as well soon, but I'm not sure when that is. And you have to switch to T-Mobile. I like the cheaper services. Benefits, whenever you lose ground access, you have access to the sky. And you don't have to buy another phone for connecting on satellites. So I like that option if you can afford those pieces of equipment to do it. Okay? Build your emergency kit. I have 4 components that I put in my emergency kit. One is an EMP protection bag. What is an EMP? Electromagnetic pulse. What causes an electromagnetic pulse? Bombs, nuclear bombs. They are what blows up in this. The difference though is that an EMP bomb is not detonated on the ground. It's detonated 400 miles above the United States, roughly approximately over the state of Wisconsin, I think. And it will wipe out all electronic devices from the East Coast to the West Coast. That's what an EMP is. All of our enemies, including North Korea, have this technology. If they use that on the United States, that'll send us back to the Stone Age. You thought Somalia was bad. This is nothing compared, Somalia is nothing compared to what would happen to the United States. Why? If we lost power long term, how are you going to feed your family if you don't have enough food? Because the stores won't be operating. The tractors who move the food from the factories to the grocery stores won't be operating. The tractors that plant the food and harvest the food won't be operating. Okay? We will be back to life as the 1800s. There's a book I recommend you read. It's called 1 Second After. Has anybody read it? 1 Second After. Does that scare you? It did. It's a very, very eye-opening book. They actually started filming a movie this past quarter. So I'm anxious to see that book, the movie when it comes out. But an EMP happens in the United States, and it's the story of a community in the mountains of North Carolina and how they dealt with the aftermath. And it takes you through a whole bunch of different scenarios that they had to deal with that we should consider thinking about ourselves on how would we deal with those kind of same situations. So I highly recommend that book if you want to. Well, if you want to stay up and have sleepless nights for months and months, read the book. It's great. But this EMP bag is made by me. Part of my armor company actually manufactures these because I have, I don't know how many sewing machines we got. We got lots of sewing machines. This is a nickel-lated material that we bought that we actually sew inside of it. So when you put inside the bag, your equipment inside the bag, you just kind of roll it up like you would like a waterproof bag. Close it up. Just make sure it doesn't move. There you go. There's your go bag for communications. Inside here I keep, this is a 28 watt solar panel. And it has plugins to plug in directly to my cell phone, directly to the Bluetooth radio, or it plugs into a battery. And so this battery, I charge this during the day, and then at nighttime I transfer the power from here into my cell phone and my mesh radio. That way, you know, I'm going to be moving all over the place during the day, so you want to keep this stable and in the sunlight. And any questions? So I said CME on here. Anybody know what CME stands for? It stands for coronal mass ejection. In 1859, there was an event that happened in our world called the Carrington event. Anybody know what that is? I have a nod. There's one back there. Carrington event is where the sun had a large coronal mass ejection of sun mass shot into space, and it was so powerful. It was a class 5. It ended up frying all the telegraph wires and the telegraph booths that were across our country. I mean, literally, they caught on fire from one coast to the other coast. And what would happen if that happened today? The same thing an EMP would do to us, the sun could do to us. Now, we've been hit with a couple of class 4 CMEs so far this year. You guys know that? Okay. I'm not sure when we're going to hit with a class 5, but I can tell you that day would be a sad day for all of us because it would do the same thing an EMP would. This gives you like a little comparison chart of all the different technologies I talked about today. So again, this is on the PowerPoint presentation you can download and study at your own leisure when you get back home, okay? Is anybody here part of their church's emergency communication solution? 3, 4, 5, cool. All right, one of the things that we are asked to do is to check on the status of all the families within our community and report that up the chain, correct? Now, you've been asked to maybe organize your ward or your church into different neighborhood groups, and then you have one person that's in charge of trying to check on those families and report back. Am I getting that correct? Well, imagine that as a block captain, your block captain walked down the street, and every time there's a house, there. They put their finger on their phone like this, and this heart report pops up, and I click on house. And let's say, for example, I want this information that I'm creating to be shared with the ward and with the city. So I'm going to input the information once, and it gets shared with both organizations at the same time. If I click on OK and submit, then it'll create a green report. That means that the family's good, the house is good. If I click on no one answered, why do we want to keep track of who didn't answer the door after a disaster? What could have happened? Well, they could be dead, or they could be on the ground trapped. Can you bust down the door to look in their house and check out what's going on? No. What that does is that gives the proper personnel knowledge that where they need to go back and check. Okay, so that's why we keep track of the no answers. If you were in Woodland Hills back in 2019, what do we have to do? We had to evacuate. So you click on that, and that creates a blue heart. It means you're gone. If you have some problems that you need help with, then we need to know this information. You put your house number, your street name, family name, how many occupants, what the structural damages on your home is, minor, partial, fully, collapsed, what kind of hazards are present, active fire, flood damage, gas leaks, power lines, loose animals. Say somebody's looting the area, what the status of your utilities are at the house, what your family status is, minor injuries. What's a minor injury? Broken arm? If it's not life-threatening, I would count it as minor, because during a major disaster, there will be people who are on death's door. They need probably more immediate attention than a broken arm, for example. Serious injury, death, rape, murder. Why do you put rape and murder on here? Now, I like to think Woodland Hills is a safe place. But this was actually designed for nationwide application. If you were in New Orleans right after the hurricane, what happened in New Orleans? Murder and rape. Let's find out what's going on. So that's why it's there. Trapped under debris. Next is emergency services needed. You can check police, search and rescue, fire, EMS, cleanup, coroner. I don't know about streets and lights, but my programmer put streets and lights without my permission. Just kidding. Tanner, no, you did great if you watched the video. Anyways, the emergency manager for the city will be able to dictate where his resources are going to be sent out when he pulls a report on these requests that come in. If it's a non-life-threatening event, such as somebody who's got broken arms, he's going to probably end up sending maybe CERT teams. You guys know what CERT teams are? CERT, Certified Emergency Response Teams. They're actually trained to a certain level to provide aid and service to our community. We're going to try and recruit more people in our community to become CERT, and I hope you do the same thing in your neighborhoods, because they are a valuable asset to an emergency management team, because he wants his paramedics, which are limited, and his fire department to be able to reach out to those areas that they can. Anybody know what time it is? Okay. So I'm going to just go back here.
So who's filling out this report? Each individual family?
Thank you. Very good question. who's filling out this report? I encourage everyone in the entire community to download the program. Now, you can use this for your own family, to be able to communicate with your family for free. But if you add the city as an organization that you share it with, or your ward, then when you put your information there for your family, so your kids in Idaho can see your status, it'll be shared with those organizations closest to you that can actually provide you help. So self-reporting is the goal. Is it going to work for everybody? No. But in Colorado, where I came from, my ward was spread out over 40 miles, square miles. And when I set up something similar to this, I had 60% of the ward self-reporting their status within 10 minutes of me sending the request for the information. That left only 40% of my ward, who were mostly inactives, or people who are technically challenged, for us to spend our resource chasing. Is that better? So the answer to your question is everybody. But when everybody doesn't do it, then the idea is if you download it as a citizen of the community and you're done, and you look on your screen, you go, oh, my neighbors, the Johnsons, didn't check in. I go over to my neighbors, the Johnsons, and see if she's okay. And if she is, I'll put green on her house, hit send, done. Submit health report.
Can you submit it right now? For reals?
Oh, sorry.
It doesn't hurt anything?
No, let's do it evacuated.
And then can you look at it, from yesterday to today as things change?
Yes.
Things like that?
So there's an admin for each group, and the admin has the ability of flushing the whole thing clean if you're testing it, and then so you have a blank slate to work with when a real disaster hits. So it just popped up blue.
You guys developed this app?
Yep. I know it's hard to believe.
And does it correlate to the things with the papers
Yes.
in the
Yes.
the black for
The
death?
black is for death. Red is for I need immediate help. Yellow is I'm hurt, but I don't need immediate help.
Yeah.
And green is I'm good.
So it's based on the same.
It's just that I added a few extra colors because I wanted to track evacuated. I wanted to track people who didn't answer their doors.
And the cities really are included into this, or they may or may adoption with the cities may or not have this?
So this program is just being released now. I've already been in discussion with, Woodland Hills. Guess what? The emergency manager of Woodland Hills said, yay, we're going to use it. Salem is reviewing it right now. Elk Ridge is reviewing it. Spanish Fork is reviewing it. Mapleton's reviewing it. American Fork is reviewing it. Lehigh's reviewing it.
So is it basically the online mobile version of those papers?
So this program works off the internet. Now, the internet will be working probably for 80 to 90% of disasters. A major 6.5 earthquake? Probably not. So what do we do with this program if the power grid has been wiped out and the internet's down? These little radios here, whether right now we've already tested with Meshtastic, but we're going to be switching over to MeshCore. This radio, when paired with the cell phone, will send and receive this data as well. So we're going to roll out this program. Once I get all those repeaters established in Utah County, then we're going to roll out a mesh backup radio. So first thing the program is going to look is their internet service? If there is, I'm using that. If there's not, it's going to say, do you have a mesh radio? Bluetooth it? Great. Now we can go back to business. Cool. I've already successfully tested it too.
So, with looting issues, can you
Looting.
see this? I mean, can anyone see this and say, oh, look at all these houses that have evacuated. I know exactly where to go.
Good question. Same thing also goes for HIPAA regulations. So I purposely on the application did not include medical information. All I want to know is, do you need an EMS? Eventually, we're going to come out with a HIPAA qualified database that has the security protocols in place so nobody can break in. We're developing the same thing. It's called SOC 2. Anyone heard of SOC 2? It's a level of encryption that would allow us to be able to collect more confidential information. When I get to SOC 2 level of encryption, then I'm going to offer this to be a resource for people to volunteer. If they want to be a volunteer and make their services available in case of a disaster, I want to know what kind of of skill sets they have, what kind of equipment they have. Do they have a backhoe? Do they have a trailer? Are there resources that they're willing to share to our community? Well, that information I do not want anybody to know except for the emergency manager. And the only way I'll be able to earn the rights to be able to collect that information is if I have SOC 2 certification of our information. So I'm working towards that direction, but right now there's not. The reports right now are a button down here. If you are not authorized to view this, you will not be able to see it. So the administrator of your group is going to dictate which members of your group have the ability of watching this information. So this here tells me I have 7 fires going on. Those are where the 7 fires are at. But you have to have the authority to be able to view this information of where it's at. Does that answer your question? So yeah, security, I'm a little paranoid too. So, but I found out to get SOC 2 certified takes about 6 months to do that. So we're starting the process now.
So this app is basically that old paper thing, but just online.
Thank you. You know what I'm talking about, the old paper thing, the RDAP program. So RDAP the name RDAP was developed by the state of Utah's Be Ready Department of Public Services in conjunction with various members of the LDS Church. By combining it together, they created a paper version of what I'm talking about here. What they do is they instruct you that after disaster, they're going to take the neighborhood and break it into groups and tell them, this group, you're going to go meet over at this building, which could be a church building or it could be a government building. It could be another church, doesn't matter. But it's close to your home, so you can walk there and check in and say, my family's fine. And after you check in, they're going to ask you, are you willing to volunteer to help out in case we need help? And you say yes. Then they might give you a map with a bunch of pieces of paper saying, please walk this street, knock on everybody's door, and fill out this form for each one of those people. And then after you're done collecting it all, bring it back to this gathering center. I will take it, I'll collate it with all the other reports that are coming in, and then I'll hand that copy to a city representative or to a ham radio operator who can then share it to others, or it can be walkie-talkie. I mean, those are all non-encrypted solutions, or they can walk it. But that's how the RDAP system is currently set up. I automated it. So now when that guy's out there, tapping each one, after you submit, everybody knows what's going on with that family immediately. You don't have to wait for him to come back. And it doesn't have to be routed to anybody else. Everybody up the chain finds out what it is.
Because we had a thing where they gave us the packet with all the different colored papers.
And you put those on each building.
They said, it doesn't matter what color, just put one out.
Yeah.
Just put one up at this time. And the block captains were going to go around and note.
The colors and who had what colors. Yeah, this
Same thing.
same thing, but much faster.
But better.
Much faster. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Let's go to the Gilbert family. I want to show you something real quick. Groups. I'm going to deactivate this one. Gilbert family. And was there anything else selected? Nope. Apply. Map. Just takes time to reset. I can send a group text message to my family like this. I've got 5 adult kids, 2 in Colorado, 1 up in Rexburg area. And when I need to communicate with them, I can send a message here. I could also send direct messages to one of them. This is my daughter. I know. She's my weird one. Anyways. Okay, now it's had a chance to refresh. So there's a swipe button here. Come on. It hasn't refreshed yet. Come on, come on. It's an online database, so sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So the idea is, so the 5 members of my kids will be showing up there, and I click on their name, and it'll directly take me to their GPS location wherever they're at in the world. Okay? This computer program doesn't care about boundaries. It cares about latitude and longitude. So if you have family members on a mission anywhere in Africa or somewhere else, you can actually zoom in and see it, and they can put a little green heart next to their name if they want to. You follow what I'm talking about? This is a powerful tool to use with your family. So we give this free for families up to 10 members. If you have more than 10 members, it's $9 a month, and that gets you 25 people to log into your group. If you want 150 people, it's $29 a month. There's also another option called monitor. A monitor person is like a stake president. Anybody here in the stake presidency? Not today. I want to view the reports on the 10 wards that are in my stake. So the monitor fee is $20 a month, and he can have up to 20 different groups that he can join. And then this report here, he has access to all that information. So this is a nice tool for them. I also have another application that go to a website, open a website. I'm just going to show you guys for a second. This is what you guys know what an EOC is? Emergency Operations Center. All right, so all this information is collected here from these volunteers can be brought into an emergency communication center or emergency operations center. Type in RDAP-pro.com. Click on this button here. Let's select the Woodland Hills ward. The Salem,
City.
the ward, the Maple Canyon ward. Now click on this in process 13 on the top. That'll zoom you in. So what this is telling you is there's 13 family homes that are being currently addressed. That means somebody's been assigned to go service that family's needs. The city emergency manager uses this to dispatch his paramedics, his fire department, his public service, public people. And if it's got a ticker on it, I mean, it's in process and somebody's working on that process. And if they want to click on one, let's click on this one here. And you can click responder, say you're wanting to send somebody over to this family's house, you're in the bishopric or something, and I want to send Trevor. Now Trevor is a Spanish Fork. What it did is it created a pathway for him to get to that location. And it sends a message to the Dunaways saying that Trevor will be there in about 45 minutes, or 30 minutes, or 20 minutes, based upon the distance that's there. This is a useful tool for emergency managers, bishoprics, stake presidencies to be able to set people for assignments. Now, the churches, of course, aren't going to be doing the heavy lifting. That's the government's responsibility. But this program coordinates with the cities and the churches together. So the cities want the church to be involved in as many non-life-threatening events that they can take care of. I can create an obstacle right here on my screen using this, by the way. As I'm walking down the street, let's say a big 100-foot tree fell over during whatever happened and is blocking the whole street. I can put my finger right on that spot on this phone, and remember that little pop-up that says residential or homes? On the bottom it says obstacle. Then you can actually select obstacle, and it says, is it a partial blockage? Is it a full blockage? And it creates that record on here saying, so the city manager now knows, hey, I can't get emergency crews past this point. I need public works to get there. And who's his eyes and ears in the field? You guys. Because he doesn't have the resources to check all those locations. So there's a tool that he can use, and then he can assign public works to go take care of that tree. Yes?
I notice you don't have power line as an option, maybe, to add.
I thought it was there.
I don't see it.
It'll drop down there.
Debris, road damage, building collapsed, vehicle.
Power line should be on there. Thank you for telling me that. I'll add that to the list, which is only this long. Well, yeah, if you guys knew that some of the stuff I got in my head that I want to have this application do, yeah, my programmer is going to be hating life for a long time. Oops, Tanner, sorry about saying that. He's my programmer. Very, very smart young man. Anybody have a single daughter around 27 years old? Oh, I need to get you guys together with your daughter. Yeah, your daughter's great. Yeah, he's currently available. So
He had a girlfriend. I asked you about it.
he had one. He got rid of her.
Oh, okay.
She got, I don't know if she was too needy. I don't
That would
know.
be perfect then.
I'm sorry. Yeah, she's very independent. I like her. All right. That is the type of tool that cities and wards can use to help manage the responses. Any questions about this EOC program? Okay, there you
Have
go.
you gotten some actual wards that signed up that they're going to pay that? Are they going to pay the monthly bill out of their budget?
So
How does that work?
the answer to the question is not yet. I didn't come out with a pay option until this week.
Okay.
So up until today, you could download this program for free and use it completely for free. But again, it's a beta test site. Like, we didn't catch the power lines that should have been on the obstacle list. As you guys, as I get feedback, we kept on every week we were doing a new release. We're getting real close to having, well, I think we're close enough to be able to roll it out now, and then we'll just continue pressing out releases as time goes by. But this, again, is called RDAP Pro, and I've got people actually all over the country that are downloading it right now. I got people in Canada, California, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Ohio, New Jersey, and North Carolina so far. Oh, and possibly in Africa, Ghana. Imagine if this application was used to track the status of the missionaries around the world. Right? That's like the number one thing our church leaders want to know. What's the status of the missionaries? They could all self-report, and then we can track exactly where they're at, GPS-wise. Two very good, useful things that we could put in here. Yes?
I'm from the community of Spring Lake, and we just became a city.
Congratulations! You guys just passed that. Yes, I saw that.
Some of us are happy, some are not happy at all.
Oh.
Do you make these type of presentations to different cities? Or to
Very good question.
The communication specialists and have them reach out to you? What do you recommend?
Emergency managers are best. I love the church.
I don't think we have that.
Oh,
Well, there's the first thing on the city agenda. Get
Yeah.
City emergency
I know,
preparedness.
that happened to be next.
okay. Or a city council person. Usually a city council person will be delegated a responsibility like that. So Woodland Hills didn't have an emergency manager before me. There was double duty with one of our city council people. So find out which city council person is in charge of emergency responses and set up a meeting. From personal experience in dealing with the LDS Church, it would be nice if we ever received top-down instructions on emergency procedures. Okay. I don't think we'll ever get that. They've delegated that to the stakes and the wards to figure it all out themselves. So the day of that happening, where the regional self-reliance managers or the regional 70 gives us instructions, I don't think it's going to happen. It would be easier if you wanted to implement this program to get your city to say, we want to adopt it, and then the city goes to your church volunteer groups and says, we're adopting this program, we would really like your support in working with us on it. That is a much easier sell than trying to expect Salt Lake to come down with instructions. Does that make sense? I see a couple of heads nodding. You know what I mean? The challenges we could have. Yes, sir.
We were at a UMART meeting, months ago, can't remember exactly how many, 3, 4, 5 months ago, and a member, an individual from the church specifically, who has been assigned by upper leadership to go around and start to implement that. So I can't remember his name, met him, saw him that one time.
Implement what? So they're trying, go ahead.
To start, instead of having the, you know how you said it'd be nice if it was coming from upper, moving down,
Right.
and they lower, moving up, to try to implement, how would you say it?
Instant radio communications, instant.
Okay. So ham radio communications is something that's at a higher level. One representative from each state is supposed to have a HF radio expert who can communicate directly with the regional self-reliance manager. He communicates with him via HF ham radios, and then that person then communicates with Salt Lake and says, this is what these areas need. And then Salt Lake communicates with the Bishop Storehouse and says, roll out the trucks with these supplies, and that's how it's currently set up. But as far as giving the stakes and the wards instructions on how to collect the information is what I'm talking about.
I see.
They're not. So a lot of wards have opted to use the district leader or the block captain program. Basically, it's the same thing, but two different names. Some wards are good. It all depends upon the local leadership. Our stake, I think, is half half our wards have block captains, the other half have nothing. So there's not a consistency out there. What I'm creating is a tool to help make their choices and their selections easier to do. Now, the RDAP program, which was developed by the state and certain church leaders, is set up to be either an alternative to the block captain and the district leader program, or it can be, what do you call it, morphed, or there's a word for it, where you're talking about merge, yeah, where you can merge aspects of the one. So I know the self-reliance managers for our state have given all the stake presidents an email saying, we recommend the RDAP program. Very few have actually implemented it. Obviously, which ward are you in, stake?
Me?
Yeah.
Springville.
Oh, good.
Jesse's book.
Okay, I didn't know that they were doing that.
Dry Creek State.
So I was in Mapleton the other day. Mapleton didn't know anything about it yet. So I haven't talked to Springville yet. But I know Payson's using it. Weber, a lot of the stakes up in Weber County and Ogden area have been rolling it out already. Most of the other stakes that I've talked to don't know what I'm talking about. So I can't really say, go check out that email you received a year ago, and they recommended you should look at this. I'm not going to be able to do that. It's easier if the city comes in and says, we're adopting this, and please consider doing it as well. Either way, Salt Lake just wants to get the information. However you get it, it's up to you. And who pays for it? Do the wards pay for it? I don't know. When I was a ward emergency communication person, I would have gladly paid it out of my own pocket just to make my life easy. A lot easier. Because $9 a month wasn't going to break the bank. Okay. That is the extent of my communication class today.